So now I'm going to continue my research paper study related to my project. So based on the sources that I give to this notebook LM, my source that I given is the MTP thesis that I wrote. Okay, so based on the source provided, so it's provided some several relevant papers. Okay, so starting from this relevant paper I have studied yesterday. So for today I will study this step. This is paper. This is number 2, post-stroke rehabilitation focus. Okay, so going to read this. The name of this paper is Powered Robotic Exoskeleton in Post-Stroke Rehabilitation of GAT Scoping Review. The relevance is that listed as reference in the sources. This scoping review is highly pertinent to your focus on stroke-induced motor impairment. It can provide clinical context evidence for the effectiveness of robotic gait training in that specific demographic. Okay, so going to read this. What I can do, just click this here. Just search it out. Okay, search it out on web. You can get it. Okay, power robotic exoskeleton post-stroke rehabilitation of GAT. Okay, it's opening now. So this is the paper. Let me see the paper. Figures are there. One second. Save format. You can select summary or one second. Okay, this is the PDF, I think. Is downloaded or not downloaded? Press Control J. It's not downloaded yet. Here to okay, download it again. Okay, the power robotic exoskeleton in the post-stroke rehabilitation of GAT scoping review. Okay, so this is the paper that I'm going to study today. Okay, from abstract. Starting from abstract for the power robotic exoskeleton. Let me zoom in. Okay, this is good. Or what I can do, make it full screen. Okay, so power robotic exoskeleton are potential intervention for GAT rehabilitation in stroke to enable repetitive walking practice to maximize neural recovery. As this is a relatively new technology for stroke, what I can do, one thing, I can also save this for future reading. Okay, and I can rename it. What the name of this power robotic exoskeleton and post-stroke rehabilitation of GAT. Okay, just copy it and rename this with the same title. Okay, and save it. Fine. So starting from the abstract again, powered robotic exoskeletons are a potential intervention for GAT rehabilitation in stroke to enable a repetitive walking practice to maximize neural recovery. As this is relatively new technology for stroke, a scoping review can help guide current research and propose recommendations for advancing the research development. The aim of this scoping review was to map the current literature surrounding the use of robotic exoskeletons for GAT rehabilitation in adults post-stroke. 5 databases were used here. As in the previous, it was one database, Adams database. But here, 5 databases are used PUMD, Ovid, Medline, and one is CIN, Sinal, MBAS, and one is Cochrane Center's Register of Clinical Trials. Research 4 articles from inspection to October 2015. Reference list of included articles were reviewed to identify additional studies. Articles were included if they utilize a robotic exoskeleton as a gait training intervention for adult stroke survivors and reported walking outcome measures. Of 441 records, identified 11 studies, all published within 5 years, involving 216 participants, met the inclusion criteria. The study design ranged from pre-post clinical studies, where the small n is equal to 7, to control trials where small n is equal to 4, where n is equal to 4. 5 of the studies utilize a robotic exoskeleton device unilaterally, while 6 use a bilateral device. Participants range from subacute less than 7 weeks to chronic more than 6 month stroke. Training period range from single session to 8-week intervention. Main walking outcome measure were gait speed, timed up and go, and 6-minute walk test, and functional ambulation category. Meaningful improvement with exoskeleton based gait training was more apparent in subacute stroke compared to chronic stroke. 2 of the 4 control trials showed new greater improvement in any walking outcomes compared to control group in chronic stroke. In conclusion, clinical trials demonstrate that powered robotic exoskeleton can be used safely as a gait training intervention for stroke. Preliminary findings suggest that exoskeletal gait training is equivalent to traditional therapy. The preliminary findings suggest that exoskeletal gait training is equivalent to traditional therapy for chronic stroke patients. While subacute patients may experience added benefit for exoskeletal gait training, efforts should be invented in designing rigorous, appropriately powered control trials before powered exoskeleton can be translated into a clinical tool for gait rehabilitation post-stroke. So keywords are stroke, okay, servovascular accident, robotic exoskeleton, gait rehabilitation, and scoping review. So I can search it out. What is this? I can press escape. Then I will select this and search it out. So here, servovascular. So servovascular refers to the blood vessels of the brain, not hand of the brain, circulation of blood within them. Okay, a servovascular accident occurs when blood flows to the part of the brain interpreted or reduced, okay, depriving brain tissues of brain and nutrients. This interruption, okay, can be caused by blockage or rupture. Okay, role in rehabilitation. The review focuses on patients who have suffered a servovascular accident and experienced gait impairments. Powered robotic exoskeleton are studied as orthotic rehabilitation devices to help restore walking ability in these patients. Okay, long-term disability worldwide. This thing is matter. Leading cause of this stroke can lead to long-term disability worldwide. Gait recovery is the major rehabilitation goal because walking ability strongly influences independence and quality of life. So understanding the servovascular origin of these impairments help guide the design of exoskeleton that mimic natural human gait. Okay, fine. So background of this, the stroke is leading cause of acquired disability in the world. With increasing survival rates as medical care and treatment techniques improve, this equates to an increasing population with stroke-related disability. Okay, who experience limitation in communication, activities of daily living, and mobility. A majority of the population ranks recovering the ability or improving walking ability among their top rehabilitation goals. Furthermore, the ability to walk is determining factor to whether an individual is returned to home after their stroke. That main thing. However, 30 to 40% of strokes survivors have limited or no walking ability ever. Okay, after rehabilitation, 30 to 40% stroke survivors have limited or no walking ability ever after rehabilitation. So there is ongoing need to advance the efficiency of GAT rehabilitation for stroke survivors. Powered robotic exoskeletons are a recently developed technology that allows individuals with lower extremity weakness to walk. These wearable robots strapped to the legs have electrically actuated motors that control joint motion to automate our ground walking. Powered exoskeletons were originally designed to be used as an assistive device to allow individuals with complete spinal cord injury to walk. However, because they allow for walking without overhead body weight support or a treadmill, they have gained attention as an alternate intervention for GAT rehabilitation in other population, such as stroke, where repetitive GAT training has been shown to yield improvements in walking function. Several powered exoskeletons are already commercially available, such as Axo Bionics USA. Okay, Rewalk Robotics Israel, and Endigo, Parker, Hanifin USA, exoskeletons with more being developed. There have been many forms of GAT training proposed for stroke survivors. Conventional physical therapy GAT rehabilitation leads to improvements in speed and endurance, particularly when conducted early post-stroke. However, conventional GAT training using hand-on assistance can be taxing on therapists. The number of steps actually taken in session reflects this and has been shown to be low in some acute hospital rehabilitation. Many of the proposed technology best GAT intervention strategies have focused on reducing the physical strain to therapists. Once again, where I gone? Focus on reducing the physical strain to therapist while increasing the amount of walking repetition that individual undergo. For example, body weight supported treadmill training like BWSTT. Okay, body weight supported treadmill training BWSTT allows therapists to manually move the parathetic limb in a cyclic motion while the patient's trunk and weight are partially supported by overhead harness system. This has shown improvement in stroke survivors' gait speed and endurance compared to conventional GAT training, yet still places a high physical demand on therapists. Advances in technology have led to treadmill-based robotics such as Locomat, Hokomo, Switzerland, Lopes University of Twente, Netherlands, and Geo, Real Technology, Switzerland, which have pressing a walking motion on the treadmill. The appeal of this technology is that it can provide substantially higher repetition of walking practice than BWSTT without placing strain on therapists. Okay. So next, however, there is a conflicting evidence regarding efficacy of treadmill-based robotics for GAT training compared to conventional therapy or BWSTT. Some studies have shown that treadmill robotics improve walking independence in stroke, but do not improve speed or endurance. That matter more, no? The speed and endurance. There has been some sentiment that such technology has not lived up to expectations originally predicted based on theory and practice. One argument is that this treadmill robotics with a preset band speed combined with body weight support create an environment where the patient has less control over initiation of each step. Another argument against treadmill-based gait training is that the lack of variability in visual-spatial flow, which is an essential challenge for of our ground walking. Power robotic exoskeleton, though similar in structure to treadmill, best robotics differ in that they require active participation from the user for both swing initiation and foot placement. For example, some exoskeletons have control strategy which will only assist the stepping motion when it detects adequate lateral weight shifting. Furthermore, because the powered exoskeletons are used for our ground walking, it requires the user to be responsible for maintaining trunk and balance control as well as navigating their path over varying surface. While these powered exoskeletons hold promise, the literature surrounding their use of gait training is only just beginning to gather, with majority focusing on spinal cord injury. You see 22-24, several 25-26 systematic reviews have shown safe uses, positive effects as an assistive device, and exercise benefits for individuals with spinal cord injury. Only one systematic review, that specifically focusing on powered exoskeleton, has included studies involving stroke participants. Through the studies in spinal cord injury and other conditions were also included. So, 1 second. Fine. Okay, continue it. So, this review focus exclusively on hybrid assisted limb (HAL) exoskeleton, hybrid assisted limb health exoskeleton, Cyberdyne Japan, which currently is not approved for clinical use outside of Japan, and found beneficial effects on gait function and walking independence. However, the results were combined generally across all included patient population and not specifically for stroke. Given that this is a relatively new intervention for stroke, the objective of this scoping review was to map the current literature surrounding the use of powered robotic exoskeleton for gait rehabilitation in post-stroke individuals and to identify gaps in the research. The second objective of this scoping review was to preliminary explore the efficacy of exoskeleton-based gait rehabilitation in stroke. As this is relatively new technology for stroke, a scoping review can help guide current research and propose recommendations for advancing the technology. So, review is the method. This scoping review was conducted in accordance with the framework proposed by RXA and O'Malley, and guided by the refined process highlighting by Levack, Ovid, Medellin, Embase, Cochrane, Central Register of Control Trials, PubMed, and CINAHL databases were accessed and searched from inspection on October 14, 2015. We combined the search term robot or exoskeleton or power gait orthosis or PGO or HAL or hybrid assistive limb or REWAG or exoskeleton or Indigo, and stroke or CVA or cerebrovascular accident or cerebral infarct or cerebral hemorrhage or hemiplegia or hemiparesis or ABI or acquired brain injury and gait or walk or walking or ambulation with humans and English language as limits. Inclusion criteria were full text, peer-reviewed articles that use as power robotic exoskeleton with adults post-stroke as an intervention for gait rehabilitation. Articles were included if they reported functional walking outcomes, example speed, distance, and independence. We defined a power robotic exoskeleton as a wearable robotic device which actuates movement of at least one joint while walking, either unilaterally or bilaterally. We further defined power robotic exoskeleton as a standalone device that can be used for our ground walking with programmable control. Articles were excluded if they reported only technology development, reported only electromyography, physiological cost, or joint kinematic data. Combined other intervention, example functional electrical simulation, included healthy participant or children utilizing a treadmill-based device, or that is the exoskeleton and treadmill are a single device where the exoskeleton cannot be used separately above ground, included mixed diagnosis participants less than 50% stroke. Okay, or if only an abstract was available, titles and abstracts were screened for relevance of two reviewers, DRL and CC. According to the inclusion and exclusion criteria above, in the event of conflict, a third reviewer, JJE, was considered for resolution. Full text were then screened and reference lists of all the selected articles were searched for additional studies. The included articles were then examined to extract data regarding study design, exoskeleton device, participant characteristics, intervention, training period, outcome measures, adverse effects, and results. We examined changes in functional working outcomes relative to clinical meaningful change values published in the literature. Table number 1 you can see. So this is the table number 1, meaningful change values for functional working outcome in stroke. So the TUEZ 6 MWT 10 MWT gait speed. So this is subacute stroke and chronic stroke. Okay, fine. Results as seen in figure 1, our electronic database search returned 440 unique titles. Only one additional article was identified through reference list searching. After screening titles, abstract and full text of eligibility, 11 articles were included, and all 11 articles were published in last 5 years, and 7 published in last 2 years. 5 studies were conducted in United States, 5 in Japan, and 5 in Sweden. So study design of the included studies, 3 were randomized controlled trials, RCTs, and one was non-randomized control study. The rest was a variety of single group pre-post clinical trials as seen in table 2. Of the 3 RCTs, 2 were small in size, where n is equal to 24, n equal to 22, and considered pilot studies. So participants across the 11 studies, there was a total of 216 participants, out of which male were 136 and female were 80. So this participant with stroke enrolled with variability in the inclusion criteria for the participation. 7 studies included participation with chronic stroke at least 6 months post-stroke. 4 studies investigated the exoskeleton with subacute participant less than 6 months post-stroke. During inpatient rehabilitation, so you can see 4 studies was investigated before, at least 7 studies, at least 6 months post-stroke, and 4 studies after less than 6 months post-stroke. During inpatient rehabilitation, the majority of the participants were in the 50 to 70 age range. 6 studies specifically enrolled participants with the ability to work without physical assistance from therapist, permitting walking device such as can or walker, while 3 studies specifically a requirement of needing manual physical assistance to walk. The former studies aim to improve mobility for ambulatory individual with chronic stroke, whereas the latter sought to restore independent ambulation for subacute stroke participants. The other 2 studies enroll participants with mix of functional levels. Exoskeleton. The included studies investigated a variety of exoskeletons, each having different sets of control mechanism. 5 studies used a robotic exoskeleton unilaterally on affected leg, while in other 5 studies uses a bilateral that setting. You can see this table. Oh, nice. Study result a flowchart of selection process based on inclusion exclusion criteria for get training. One study proposed participants as they were able for bilateral design to an unilateral configuration. Okay. The most studied exoskeleton was the HAL, using 6 studies. In these studies, participants' hip and knee joints were electrically actuated in walking motion. In one study, the H2 exoskeleton Techniad SL span assisted the hip, knee, and ankle joints. 4 studies utilized an exoskeleton powering only one joint of the lower exoskeleton. Okay, not exoskeleton, lower extremity, either hip or knee, uni or bilateral. No study were found in which only the ankle was actuated during it. Control of the exoskeleton ranged from remote control button activation to active movement control of stepping. The devices are able to detect movement intention through monitoring joint angles and limb torque, or through bioelectric signaling of muscle activity. All exoskeleton except the HIL provided some supplementary guide assistance as needed basis, in which the user as the user generates as much of walking movement as possible, and the device provides extra torque or support to ensure step completion. The HIL has 2 modes, one that provides complete stepping assistance and one that adapts to user force generation. Table 3 further describes that details the exoskeletons, their control strategies, and the level of assistance provided. Okay, so you can see here the figure. I will rotate it and show you. 1 second, I will rotate it. Okay, see. So this is the figure. The study result, a flow chart of selection process based on inclusion exclusion criteria. You can see what is included, what is excluded through is. This is included. Studies eligibility is there, screening and identification is there. So records identified through a database searching, identification, and additional records identified through the research reference disk checking. And this is also in the records after duplicates removed, screen, titles and abstract screen, and records excluded. Okay, and now eligibility is that full text articles assessed for eligibility, and you can see this studies included in review. Okay, fine. So this is page number 4 out of 10. So what I will do, I fill in. So training period, there was variability in the training period of included studies ranging from a single session to several weeks or months of training. Training duration lasts from 20 to 90 minutes per session, and frequency ranges from 2 to 5 sessions per week. And table 2 details the different training period for this study. Training protocols. What are the protocols? The training protocol employed in each study differed and varied depending on study design, length of the training period, and exoskeleton use. Table number 2. Generally, subjects were proposed as tolerated from weight bearing functional tasks, sit to stand, standing balance, weight shifting to walking practice while wearing the exoskeleton device. And 2 studies had participants trained on treadmill, which allowed therapists to adjust the walking speed externally. The more detailed training protocols were described in the control trials, wherein individuals were progressed according to various intensity guidelines such as rate of perceived acceleration and non-skeletal walking speed. For example, Yoshimoto is a paper advances the training speed to 1.5 to 1.7 times to the maximal non-exoskeletal 10 MWT walking speed before each session. Okay, so next, this is table number 2, summary of studies included in the review. Okay, you can see the study and design, participants, exoskeleton training period, training protocol that are given, working outcomes and results. So first we will study about this subacute stroke. So Vatana Bay subacute stroke 1 to 2% assist ambulation and to N11 mean 58.9 days post stroke. Conventional group N equal to 11 mean 50.6 days post stroke. Or HAL exoskeleton training period, HAL unilateral, in which 12 sessions were over 4 weeks and 20 minutes each session. So training protocol was HAL group get training while wearing HAL, facilitating improvement in walking ability, partial BWS if needed. So this is the thing here, that and TUG, 6WMT, get speed, FSE. So this is the thing. Oh, subacute. Oh, fine. You can read this whole table. Walking on time and navigation progress from complete control to bioelectric signaling. Walking and practice for standing, practice in exoskeleton. SMA group, 30 minutes of high intensity overground walking with SMA and 50 minutes of dynamic functional get training with SMA. Okay. So this is the whole table. This is table number 2, summary of study included in the review. Okay, fine. Okay. Overground walking over a linear track, participant in change of speed and encouraged to walk as much as possible with prex. Walking practice with sit to stand transfers, squatting and stepping activities, obstacle clearance, uneven terrain, our community, ambulation stair climbing. This is thing 45 minutes while wearing device, standardized weight bearing functional mobility activities, sit to stand transfers, balance exercises, and CAD practice at various speed on different surfaces and functional task practice. Okay, so several studies you can see allowed some body weight support using an overhead harness to improve walking mechanics. So walking measures were there. 10 of 11 studies included a measure of gait speed in the assessment of walking ability, either measuring it directly or via 10-meter walk test, T10 MWT, 10-meter walk test. 5 studies assessed walking endurance by means of 6-minute walk test, 6 MWT, and 7 studies assessed the timed up and go tug test. Okay, time up and go. This which is a measure of functional mobility, as it includes sit to stand and turning. Okay, and 2 studies also included level of independence or assistance in the assessment of walking ability using the functional ambulance category. Participants were not wearing an exoskeleton device when assessed for the above measures in all studies, but get heads such as cans or walkers were permitted. Okay, fine. Details of powered exoskeleton there in this review. You can see the details. So effectiveness of exoskeleton based GAD training. 10 studies supported varying degrees of improved walking ability after exoskeleton training. Of the 4 subacute stroke studies, only one was randomized controlled trial N equal to 22, which showed that participants uses HAL experience as a significant improvement in FSE score. Okay, compared to conventional GAD rehabilitation match for training time, no longer requiring manual assistance to walk after the training period. Okay, medium effect size. However, they found no significant difference between the HL intervention and conventional therapy for walking speed or endurance. One small pre-post subacute study and equal to it also found an improvement in the median FSC score of the subacute participant from 0 2% assist to walk to 1.51% assist to walk. After exoskeleton based gait training, participants in the two other pre-post studies in subacute stroke demonstrated improvement in walking speed with only few sessions. Though not all of the participants demonstrated a change greater than the established minimal clinical improvement difference MCID. Okay, minimal clinical important difference across the 7 chronic stroke studies. Improvement in walking were less apparent. In an RCT with 50 participants, there was no significant difference between the clinically meaningful improvement in gait speed made by participants in either the exoskeleton or functional training group based for training time. Similarly, participants were using the Ultra-Z bionic leg did not demonstrate significant improvements compared to control group or to baseline after 18 training session in small RCT with 24 participants. In contrast, a non-randomized control trial found significant and clinically meaningful improvement in gait speed and talk time after training using a HAL compared to conventional physical therapy. However, the control group did not receive the same number of exercise sessions. One last pre-post study, N equal to 16, did not find changes in gait speed that were beyond the established MCID, while 3 small pre-post studies, each with 3 participants, found in varying results. Okay, clinical improvement in endurance were made by 4 participants in 2 of the pre-post studies using a minimal clinically important difference of 34.4 meter and the 6 MWT. 3 participants across the 3 small pre-post studies made meaningful improvement in TUG scores. 4th participant in 2 of the pre-post studies demonstrated a clinically meaningful improvement in walking speed using an MCID of 0.06 and 0.14 meter per second. Okay. Adverse effects. 8 studies confirmed that no adverse event occurred during the course of the gait training intervention, and one study reported minor temporary adverse effects such as skin irritation and pain from cuffs and bioelectric detection electrodes. 2 studies did not report any adverse events. No studies reported adverse effects on the therapist. Discussion. This scoping review was conducted to map the literature surrounding the use of powered robotic exoskeleton for gait training for individuals after stroke and to identify preliminary findings and areas where further research is required. This is relatively new application of powered exoskeleton as they have only recently become available for clinical use. As expected, there are only a small number of studies published relevant to this topic. There were 4 different powered exoskeleton utilized amongst the included studies, ranging from unilateral single joint devices to bilateral multi-joint robotics. Okay, with capacity to detect voltational electric signals on the commercial market for clinical applications that have not been yet investigated for stroke, such as the Axo, Reebok, Indigo, Parker, Hannifin Corporation USA. Research with these authorized exoskeletons is required to determine their clinical usefulness and would also strengthen the literature in general support of exoskeleton used for gait rehabilitation in stroke patients. Okay, studies comparing unilateral and bilateral design may also be another avenue for investigating the efficacy of exoskeletal gait training. The majority of the included studies investigated exoskeleton based gait training in chronic stroke participants. However, the greatest amount of functional and neurological recovery after stroke occurs in the first 6 weeks after stroke. In reflection of this, all 4 studies in the subacute phase of stroke reported positive effects of exoskeleton training. 2 studies demonstrated improved walking independence with repeated exoskeletal gait training for more limited stroke participants, which is in line with finding using treadmill-based robotics. Okay, in another study, there was significant improvement in walking speed 0.4 meter per second for stroke participants who had some voluntary motor control, but much less change 0.1 meter per second for those who without voluntary control. The magnitude and parameter, ability and speed of walking improvement may vary depending on the initial functional presentation of the exoskeleton user. Furthermore, the spontaneous recovery following stroke is a confounding factor for improvements reported that has yet to be rigorously controlled for in the current literature. Study findings were not consistent for chronic stroke participants. All the chronic stroke participants included were ambulatory, and so studies investigate changes in gait parameters rather than functional ability. While there were modest but not considered changes in the pre-post studies, the more rigorous RCTs did not show a difference from their respective control groups, when groups were measured from exercise time and interaction with a physical therapist. Even in studies with longer training protocols, there were not a trend for greater improvements despite receiving the repetitious practice that is required for motor learning. Chronic stroke participants do not respond as positively to exoskeletal gait training as subacute patients. This is consistent with finding in systematic review of treadmill-based exoskeleton device for gait training in chronic ambulatory individual with stroke. A possible explanation for this is that once an individual is able to walk, they benefit more from unconstrained walking practice with greater variability and unpredictable challenges. While powered exoskeletons do not require the participant to use to treadmill, they still constrain the user to stereotype movement pattern and may sometimes challenge them. The majority of recruited studies had small sample sizes, which may have limited the power of the study finding and analysis. In addition to this, the majority of these studies were pilot feasibility or pre-post clinical studies. Recruitment and lack of control group may have introduced bias to their findings. For example, one study used a non-randomized control design where the control group was form of participants who were less able to attend the training protocol. These results inform the preliminary evidence in the field, and more rigorous, appropriately powered randomized control trials will continue to advance the clinical application of powered exoskeleton. Future direction for research and suggestion for clinical practice. From our data synthesis, we have identified various considerations when using an exoskeleton for gait training and proposed several questions for future research. Do non-ambulatory chronic stroke participants experience that same improvement in walking ability as some sub-acute stroke participants when using an exoskeleton device for gait retraining? How does initial functional presentation impact the nature of improvement in walking ability when using an exoskeleton device for gait rehabilitation? What is the impact of different exoskeleton, number of joints actuated, level of assistance and control of stepping on gait rehabilitation in stroke? What is the impact of using bilateral design compared to unilateral design for gait rehabilitation in hemiparetic stroke? What is the optimal dose of exoskeletal gear training for stroke patients to regain most walking ability? Next. So number 6, how does an overground exoskeletal gear training compare to body weight supported treadmill training? Can exoskeleton be used for safety, ambulate 2% assist patient early after stroke with minimal injury risk to therapist? Additionally, large sample sizes and rigorous methodology investigating the efficacy of powered exoskeleton in stroke will further strengthen finding for or against their utilization for gait rehabilitation. At the moment, there is insufficient evidence to advocate in favor or against of power exoskeleton in clinical practice. The patient's acuity and functional presentation needed to be considered and extent of benefit has yet remained to be determined through high quality research. The devices, however, have been shown to be safe and feasible for use of stroke patients. They can be mobilized more impaired individual without physically training therapists. It thus remains up to therapists to use their own clinical judgment of whether to utilize powered exoskeleton with their patients for gait rehabilitation, considering its application for weight bearing, standing, and automated walking. So limitation, there are few limitations with present review. This review excluded non-English studies, which may have led to an incomplete synthesis of data, given that some exoskeletons were developed in non-English countries such as Japan, Germany, Iran, Israel, and Spain. There were heterogeneity in the studies, especially with variability in the training protocols and exoskeleton utilized. Control mechanism, unilateral and bilateral application, which makes interpretation of the result challenging. In addition, type side and severity of stroke comorbid condition were not considered in this review because of the scarcity of studies in this area. As more research trials in stroke rehabilitation using powered exoskeleton are conducted, a systematic review will be able to address this additional consideration. So conclusion, currently clinical trials demonstrate that powered robotic exoskeleton can be used safely as a gait training intervention for subacute and chronic stroke. Preliminary findings suggest that exoskeletal gait training is equivalent to traditional therapy for chronic stroke patients, while subacute patients may experience added benefit for exoskeletal gait training. Efforts should be invested in designing rigorous, appropriately powered controlled trials before it can be translated into clinical tool for gait rehabilitation post-stroke. Okay. Finally, the abbreviation is the 10 MWT means 10 meter walk test, not on 10 meter walk test. 6 MWT 6-minute walk test. BWST body weight supported treadmill training. FEC functional ambulation category. HAL hybrid assistive limb HAL, and MCID minimal clinically important difference. RCT randomized control trial. RP rate of perceived excretion, timed up and go. So this is the organization, funding, and everything. You can read out for your need. References also, there are a lot of references given. So the paper is now ended. Now what I will do, I will summarize it. Okay, using notebook I will summarize, and I will read out the summary, understand the summary as well. Okay, what I will do, I will select this. Okay, Control C, click here, Control V, summarize this this paper and make relevant questions and answers. Okay, fine. Okay, so I'm going to read the summary and give to answer all the important questions, relevant questions according to my thesis MTP. So fine. I think it's almost 1 hour is going to happen, so it's great. So the source that I provided, based on the limited information of the paper is scoping, it is used in the sources to provide context for technological progress and clinical application. Scoping review, because the full text of paper is not contained within your pen, so I can. Okay, 1 second. I will provide the link. Where the link? Here. Okay. Okay, I will write it again. Okay. Okay, fine. Summary: the paper by his scoping review focus on the use of power robotic exoskeleton for recovery, walking ability after stroke. It is reference to support the idea that rehabilitation techniques are moving through using active mechanical system to assist lower limb movement. These systems are preferred because they can provide controlled, repetitive movement. Okay, reduce the need for constant clinical staff supervision and allow for personalized treatment levels based on the patient's specific recovery needs. So this is in the context of this. So relevant questions that can be asked: what are the primary focus of this paper? It focuses on the use of power robotic exoskeleton, specifically for the GAD rehabilitation for patients who have suffered a stroke. Okay, it focuses on the use of power robotic exoskeleton, specifically for the GAD rehabilitation of patients who have suffered a stroke. What research methodology was used in that study? It described as a scoping review, which involves mapping the existing literature to identify key concept and research gaps in the field of robotic rehabilitation. The use of robotic system helps in reducing the dependence on clinical staff while ensuring the helps in reducing the dependence on clinical staff while ensuring the patient receives adequate control and repetitive movements. Okay, Journal of Neuroengineering and Rehabilitation, it was published here. Okay. Yes. Put yes. Okay. Put command yes, and then it will provide a complete summary. Okay, fine. I will drink water. I think it will work or not work. One second, what I can do, create another notebook. Okay. Now upload files. Upload this file. Okay. Oh, here you can add sources. Yeah, here you can add sources. Okay, fine. Okay. Thus, review, examine the use of power robotic acceleration as a modern intervention for gait rehabilitation and other security forms of okay. By analyzing 11 clinical studies, the author highlighted that these wearable devices provide a safe way to perform repetitive walking practice without physical strain. Traditional therapy places on clinicals. The research indicates that while subacute patients often see significant gains in walking independence, results for those in chronic recovery phases are more comparable to standard exercise. The author emphasized that while these robotic technologies are feasible and secure, more rigorous control trials are necessary to confirm their clinical efficacy. Ultimately, the source provides a comprehensive map of current literature to guide future development in neurorehabilitation technology. So, the paper Power Robotic Acceleration and Post-Hoc Scoping Review. Amazing use of wearable robotic device. Dennis R. Loy and Janice Jange. Okay, these are the author of this research paper. So this explore the amazing use of wearable robotic device to assist stroke survivors in regaining walking ability. Okay, for gait rehabilitation in adult stroke survivors and to identify research gaps. Unlike radial-based robotic system, these experiments are standalone devices that allow for overground walking, requiring the use to actively participate in balance, front control, and path navigation. Okay, key study characteristics. Study selection. The authors identified 11 studies published between 2011 and 2015 involving a total of 216 participants. The participants included both subacute, less than 6 months post-stroke, and chronic, more than 6 months post-stroke individuals. Device studies. The most frequently studied device was hybrid assistive limb, that is HAL. Okay, HAL. Okay, the most frequent studies was given by this device. Other devices include stride management assist SMA, and S2, and the Alter G bionic leg. Outcome measures. Effectiveness was measured through gait speed, 10 meter walk, 10 WT, 10 meter walk test, and endurance 6 minute walk test. These were the gait speed and endurance and functional mobility, time up and go, and walking independence, functional ambulance category. Major findings were safety. The review concluded that power robotic acceleration can be used safely for gait rehabilitation in population. This is the major finding. And subacute stroke patients in subacute phase appear to experience added benefit from exoskeleton training compared to traditional therapy, particularly in regaining walking independence. Chronic stroke for individuals in chronic phase exoskeleton training was generally found to be equivalent but not superior to traditional physical therapy. Okay, fine. Clinical implication. While promising, the authors emphasize that more rigorous, appropriately powered control trials were needed before these devices can be fully integrated into standard clinical practice. This is thing they are doing. So relevant questions that can be asked from this paper are: how do powered robotic exoskeleton differ from treadmill-based robotic system like the Locomat? While treadmill-based system often move a patient through a preset cycle with body weight support, powered exoskeleton used for overground walking typically require active participation from the user to initiate, swing, and place their feet. This requires the user to maintain trunk and balance control while navigating real-world surfaces. So this is the thing. Which stroke population seems to benefit from most from this technology? The preliminary findings suggest that subacute patients, those early in their recovery, less than 6 months, okay, may experience more meaningful improvement in walking independence from than chronic patients. In chronic stroke, the devices may actually under challenges users who have already regained some walking ability, because robots often constrain them to a stereotype movement pattern. While the primary safety concern on adverse effect reported, the technology is generally considered safe. Reported adverse effects were minor and temporary, such as skin irritation or pain. That's all. From cuffs and electrodes used to secure the device or detect muscle signals. Okay, so fine. Move ahead. What are the main barriers to using exoskeleton as a standard clinical tool? The authors note that there is currently insufficient evidence to advocate for or against their routine use. Most current studies have small sample sizes and lacks rigorous control. Furthermore, more research is needed to be determine the optimal dose, frequency, and duration of training, and how different exoskeleton designs, unilateral or bilateral, impact recovery. Can these devices help therapists in clinical setting? Yes, these devices can help. These devices can be used to mobilize more severely impaired individuals, such as those requiring, okay, a second person assist without physically straining the therapist. Okay, we can who would otherwise have to manually move the patient parathetic limbs. Okay, so that's the end of this research paper. Now I'm going to end the video. Thank you so much for watching this and reading with me together, understanding the paper together. So thank you so much.